creep beneath your weight while winter rattles the rusty garden gate. You lean back in the chair with the peeling paint, watching the kitchen light flicker dim and faint. Your needles click like a clock out of time.
Hi, and welcome to this video. This is actually a different video than the ones I uploaded over the last months, because, I'm taking some time off, so I can't make the regular vlogs where I'm telling lots of new stuff and about patterns that's coming up and that kind of things. So today we have a slightly different video, because it would be, in my opinion, it would be a fun thing to let you guys ask me questions which I can answer about things you still want to know about me or my designing part or the Veluwsch Verfgoed store. And so I'll ask you guys on social media to let me know what you like to know from me. So you guys asked me a lot of questions, and this is what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to answer the questions, and I divided them in two because there were a lot of questions about Veluwsch Verfgoed, the hand-dyed yarns, and there were a lot of questions about the guy with the hook, which I will be answering those questions in the next video. I'll have divided them over two videos. So today we're going to talk about dyeing yarn and being an indie dyer in the meantime. So let's start. I have a book here full of questions. I've written them down all. And the first question you guys asked me was, how is Veluwsch Verfgoed, how is it born and how did you came to the name? And many of you who already watch my vlogs might know this, but I'm still gonna explain it a bit briefly here. Last year I was fired from my job and my education due sickness and health conditions, and that was at the end of the year. And so I was on a crossroad where I needed to think, okay, am I gonna take on a new job, or am I gonna do something totally different and give myself the opportunity to also recover a bit more over the next months? And so that's where Veluwsch Verfgoed came in. I already was dyeing some yarns just personally as well, just the on a hobby base, and I still don't know how it happened. But my first thought was like, you need to start a small business in hand-dyed yarns. Well, that idea was in my mind for a few weeks, and at the end I did it. At the end of November, maybe half November last year, I decided to start all the things to set up a store, an online store. So a lot of administration, but also supplying yarn, assets, all that was needed to start the whole business. And I started dyeing, and I did that the last 6 weeks of last year. So I worked my bones off to create Veluwsch Verfgoed behind the scenes, because my idea was to, when my regular job ends, which I was fired from, which was the 1st of January of this year, I'll want the business to be ready to start, as that will be my new employment situation. So I actually worked very hard over those last weeks, and I was so happy that I succeeded in that. But I still needed a name for the store, and so I decided to call it Veluwsch Verfgoed. And Veluwe is the word for Veluwe, and Veluwe is the place I live here in the Netherlands. It's an area in the middle of the Netherlands with a lot of forests and a lot of nature, and we call it the Veluwe. It's a large national, well, park. You really can't say park because we are also living in it, but it's a vast amount of forests and wildlife and yeah, all that is connected with it. And Verfgoed is the Dutch for paint and heritage. So I'll combine those two words to the last word of the store, and of course, well, I already say it with explaining those two words because I wanted to capture the heritage of the place I live in into the painting of the yarns. So yeah, I thought it would be a nice gesture to do, and that's how all things started. And well, in the end, now a few months later, all is so well accepted, which I'm very happy with. But this is how it started. The next question is, how do you get your color inspiration for dyeing yarn? Well, that's actually very easy because, as said, my inspiration for the store and the things I'll dye are based on where I live, and that's of course just nature. And yeah, nature is full of inspiration. No matter if you talk about animals, trees, flowers, well, insects, it can be all kind of things. And besides that, this place here holds a lot of old folk tales from the past, which are very fun to explain and use in dyeing yarns, because it's so much fun to dye a skein of yarn and have such a story behind it. So I often also use that as an inspiration, and of course with that inspiration I also try to think of what would be the best use of color to create something. And of course, it's very obviously if I dye a skein of yarn on a kingfisher, those colors can be, yeah, are already almost think of, because a kingfisher looks always the same. But using a story or a different inspiration can definitely give you the creativity to work with color and think out what would be the best way to interpret the story or the theme. Or so I definitely love that. And yeah, that's so the inspiration for me is very easy because it's the place I live in and the history I live in, and that's definitely something I also value and was part of my plan, because I think we often needs to look around us how beautiful things are, or see the history and learn from it. So that's also a deeper layer on the whole thing. Yeah, so that's where my inspiration comes from. The next question is, what is the difference between your yarns and those from others? And first of all, I want to say there is no difference, because there is no better or worse. I mean, it's not like the yarn quality or the yarn as yarn is better or worse than that from someone else, from a colleague. Everyone is doing their own thing in their own way and in their own mindset. And I am sure every indie dyer or everyone who dyes yarn does that in a way they think is right. So there is no better. The only thing I'll do is I'll buy my yarns to dye from a supplier that is not, well, at least here in the Netherlands, it's not the supplier many indie dyers use. So for me here it is a great choice, because it's setting up a bit of a difference, because the yarn is looking a bit different and feeling a bit, it's softer, but also the stitch definition is much better than most of the yarns. And again, it's not like someone else's product is bad or worse, but I intended to definitely use some other yarns to dye than those much or already used by others. So in that way I try to make it different, and they are different and not that much about composition because it's just merino wool with nylon and there is no difference there. But I value high quality of yarn in the way stitch definition looks, the softness of the yarn, and the way it feels to be used. But in the end it's also personal, because I can like my own dyed yarns, but if you use it you can say no, I better like those or the. It's a personal choice in the end, so that's also important to tell. The next question is, what is your favorite color out of your collection? Well, and that is a bit of a hard question because I'll have colors in my collection that are very personal and connect to my family. But in the end, I'll have to mention it is Veluwe at sea, because I definitely the most the thing I love most is sea. No matter if it's sea team, sea colors, everything around the sea is definitely in my league. So I think I'll have to choose the sea color. But I was also thinking for a second, the color based on my grandmother, who has passed away, was also definitely a favorite one. But I'll have to think about this question. What is your favorite color? Like, what would I use most? What would I use the fastest? If I have to pick out a color out of the collection, which one would I use definitely? And that would be definitely the sea color. So yeah, Veluwe at sea, I think. The next question is, how do colors between batches to dye are consistent? Like, how do you keep them the same way when dyeing them? And the answer is, well, of course there are recipes. The key in this is definitely writing a recipe for what you do, like using the amount of acids, but also to describe the way you dye your yarn, because there are different techniques and different ways to do it. And for each color, I'll decide which technique or which way is the best. So it's very important to also write that steps down, so you know when it has to be re-dyed to stock it up. You do it in the same way because you want the same product and the same colors. But in the end, you never can get an 100% same batch out there, because it's also depending on many things like temperature, the weather conditions, the acid degrees. Like if a part of your yarn you prepare to dye isn't fully hit by how do you say it? The grade of the water. I mean, you put citric acid to the water to make the level of the water, the pH. You try to make it as sour as possible, so the fiber is putting out, is up. And if that is not correctly done, or it doesn't hit the full batch of yarn, your acids will also not go into the fiber, and you will see that at the end. So there are different obstacles to take, and that can definitely make that a batch is not 100% consistent to the one before it. So many things are important to make a new batch successful. In the end, of course, many indie dyers choose, I'll just dye this as batches, and after that it's done, I'm doing something else. They don't work with repetitive colorways. I'll do it because I think it's great if you now see a color but you don't want it for now. But over 6 months you think, oh, I saw that beautiful color, I still want it. It must be available. However, I always look when I re-dye batches if they look the same, if there are differences between them. If there are differences, I'll split them and I'll make new photos. And because I don't want to give you an image that shows something that is definitely not it. Yeah, so I'll be very picky, and my standards are very high when it comes to re-dyeing and to restocking. And if things are not the same, I'll split them out and I'll make sure the images are renewed, or I'll split out different, like two batches from the same color can also be sold like two different listings. So yeah, and some colors just do work out pretty fine re-dyeing them with absolutely no differences, and that's great, but that's not for all colors. But you can never have 100% consistency between hand-dyed yarn, because hand-dyed yarn is still, it's like magic. You never know what will happen most of the time. Of course, it's all just chemistry and science doing the thing, but strangely, it always delivers a bit of a different outcome. So that's the answer to the question. The next question is, which color is sold most? And I think that is the Kingfisher. It's definitely one of the most popular colorways, and I think that's because of the bright and vivid colors, and the combination of orange and blue is just so nice. But it's not totally fair to say that, because the sea color I just mentioned as my favorite color is also selling very good, but that color has been added just 1 month ago, and the Kingfisher is already there for some months. So there's also a slight difference in, if you put it to ratio, I would say the sea color is even sold more. And of course there was also a moment when I introduced the colorway for my beloved passed away grandmother. And after you guys hear the story, that color went sky high. Like, I couldn't dye enough of it, because every time I dyed some new batches, they were gone in a day. So that was also definitely, but that one slowed down now. So I probably would say Kingfisher, but it also has to do with the amount of time that is already available. But yeah, Kingfisher and Veluwsch are definitely two of the most sold colors. The next question is, what would you like to develop or add to your collection? Yeah, that's a hard question, but because when I started this, I just started out with a very small collection, just as an whole big experiment to see what it would be. And in the end, I never expected it to grow so fast, because in the last months I have been developing and adding so much that for now I think most of all the ideas I had, like, well, when it would be successful, I would do this, or I need this to add. Most of those things are already added in the meantime. So for this year, I think I'll have not that much to add anymore, because all the ideas and dreams and things I had are there already. And of course, there are definitely things I like to add for the future. Like, I would also love to have 50 grams skeins available from, for example, the sock yarns, because most of the time I feel you have to buy 100 grams or 20 grams, and sometimes it's way too much or too less, and there is no in between. And many patterns often use for sock yarn use the term of 100 gram skeins, but you most of the time only need the half of it. So I think a 50 gram skein would definitely be an add. So, and maybe not in the color ranges that are already there, but maybe a whole new line of colors. So that's definitely one of my ads to do over the next year, probably. But in the end, there are also many fiber contents to explore, like boucle yarn. There is many things to dye. So, and for me, it is also like error and trial. I want to see what you guys like, and if something, sometimes I do something, and if you guys don't like it, well, then it's time to let it go and do something else. So it's also a bit of exploring along the way well, what demand will be. Um, but for now, that's the only thing I can mention actually on this question. The next question will be is what is the most asked question to your company? Now that's very simple. It's swatches. Many people over the last months asked me for swatches for colors I dyed, and of course I understand that question 100%. I definitely understand you want to see how a color works up, which is hand dyed, because it's always a surprise how things will end up. And well, honestly, I have to tell you, and I have told this already many times over the past months, and definitely to those who ask this question privately to me, that I don't do swatches. And there's a reason for it, because first of all, I start a business. I am a small business, and making swatches would mean I have to pick out one skein of yarn out of each color I made to just make a swatch. That would be a huge investment because yarn is definitely expensive. And if I would do that, I would take such an amount of money out of my business, which could be sold. Um, yeah, that it's definitely not the right thing to do at the moment, because, yeah, it could bring you some sales if you showed an example, but it could also be that people might think, it's not that, not for me. So it isn't always it would not always be guaranteed to have success out of making such a step. And in the end, the most important reason for doing it was, for me at least, I just told you, consistency between batches isn't 100%. So if you would make a swatch from batch 1 and you would dye batch 5 in the end, it could definitely look a bit different. And so your swatch would be waste because it doesn't compare any longer to the batch you dye. So what's the point of making a swatch if those things can happen? And then there's the other thing. When you dye, each fiber content and each weight of yarn dyes up differently. I can for example, dye the color Kingfisher, but it will be looking different on a decay yarn or a sock yarn, and that's most of the time to do with the weight of the yarn, the fiber weight, and how the yarn absorbs the color. So I can make swatches, but then I had to do it for like decay, sock, mini decay. Yeah, that would be because mini skeins are also dyeing more heavier. Like when smaller amounts of yarn are in a batch, the acid would how do you say it? Get faster into the fiber of the yarn. And that doesn't mean they look that different from a large skein, but yeah, each weight and each type of yarn pulls out differently, and many of my colleagues also show that when dyeing that the weight of yarn can definitely differ in the outcome of a color range. And so it is not convenient for me to make swatches. And in the end, I also think it's the magic of hand-dyed yarn to just explore and see how it will end up. I mean, if you want to buy a yarn that definitely is consistent and you want to know how it looks, you can better buy a yarn made in fabric, in factory. then you buy something that is consistent and you definitely can tell how it will end up. Hand-dyed yarn is more of an surprise and a very different range of product to work with. And most of the time, people all are definitely surprised and happy with the outcome. And I think that's just what it is. But that is definitely the most asked question for me. And I will still keep answering to what I just told. Then the next question is, how does a day of work at Veluwsch Verfgoed looks like? Well, that's a fun question. I can tell there are different working days over here. I'll have days that I fully am busy with dyeing yarn, and there are days between. And days when I'm dyeing, I definitely get up at 6, 7 in the morning, and that's very early actually, but it takes a lot of time to dye. So I'll start early, I'll work the entire day of dyeing, and before I will dye, I'll put out all the schedules with what need to be dyed. I need to prepare the yarn for it, all kinds of stuff. But when dyeing, I'm definitely dyeing a whole day and probably to late in the afternoon, and then everything has to be washed and hanged out to dry. So those are very intensive days and long hard working days, because it's very physically, which is fine, but that's definitely time consuming and takes a whole day if you're dyeing. And there are days between where I do my orders, my administration, the labeling of the yarns, the skening, all kinds of stuff that comes with running this business. Product development, preparing the shop for different things, recording vlogs is also part of it in the meantime. So many things are definitely coming up with doing this. And so my days are very busy in the end, but that's also because I work for my own studio at the moment. And when working for a boss in a day job, you go to work and you do your thing, and you have certain rules to apply, and when done you get home, and that's it. And that's with running your own business out of your own place is definitely not the thing. I mean, you have so much things to do between. And if someone give you a phone call, you can just take it, and then that comes along your work. That is something you couldn't do if you worked in a store for a boss, for example. So there are many levels of things that also make this a whole different thing to do. But in the end, I think I even work more, and at least more days, but also more hours in a week to make this successful. And because things have grown so much over the last months, it's getting busier and busier. But it doesn't feel like working that hard, because it's something I love doing, which gives me joy, and it is something I feel very comfortable with. So I think that all makes it definitely much more fun to do. And of course, it's good to now take some time off and also get rest, because the balance of personal life and work is very thin when doing this. But in the end, I still love working, and I get so much fun out of it, and that's the most important thing to do. But it's definitely, there are very busy days now, so that's how a day looks at the moment here. The next question is, what is the thing you are most proud of since the start of your store? And I think that's a very easy question to ask, because I intended this whole thing to give me some time and amount to recover a little. And although it became so busy over the last months that is actually definitely failed, I'm still so proud that I did it. It was a very riskful choice, and definitely one that had many layers. And also, of course, I had the thoughts in my mind, like, okay, what if this fails? I need to have a back plan, and is this a good idea to do at the moment? And there are so many thoughts and insecurities when doing something like this. And a few months later, you see things start to work, and you can do this, and you are on the right path, and what you do is the right thing to do, and people love what you do. People are giving you the courage and the credits for what you're doing, and they see how hard you work to put something out there. And I think that's the most proud thing to be of, because yeah, I couldn't say that would you don't know if that will be the thing. It could also have been that I sit here now with the thought, okay, I have to close the business by the end of the year, and I have to start searching for a day job once again. For now, that's not the issue, and that makes me very proud, because all the struggles, all the things, and definitely personal life that wasn't great, health isn't great, and as many as any one of us also have a personal life which daily struggles. There are coming lots of problems and things to deal with along the way, besides just working and in my case starting a business. And holding all those things in the air makes me very proud that it's successful so far. And of course I need some time to get off now and take some rest, but in the end I did it, and that makes me very proud for now. So that's a very easy question to answer, actually. A last question is, what are the future plans for Veluwsch Verfgoed? Well, I don't know if I have to say so much about future plans, because many things that has already happened over the last months were future plans. In the end, I also don't want to be the person to think about what about 5 years, because we live in a world where future is a very relative thing, and the world evolves so hard and so fast that I don't know if it's a very good thing to always think about 10 years later. I live now, I'll do what is right now, and of course it's a very good thing to think about, okay, what would I be doing next year, or what would be a great ad, or what would be a good idea to work out for over about a few months. Sure, and that's what I'm also doing. But yeah, many of those things that I came up with over the last months, like, okay, that would also be a nice idea for about next year, I have realized over the next months already, because I have expanded so big that I would never have imagined that. So for now, I don't have that much future plans. The only thing I can tell is that, of course, next year there will be a very big thing that will connect the guy with the hook part, the designing part, a bit more with the Veluwsch Verfgoed, the hand-dyed yarn store. Yeah, so that's definitely, of course, we are behind scenes busy with new things, and there are things happening, but I'm not the guy who thinks about future plans for about what will I be in the next 5 years. And maybe that's not it's a very common and healthy thing to do, because it gives you perspective to where you want to grow. But in the end, I think I'm in a part of my life where future is not that important. Just live in the moment and enjoy what is now, and just think a little ahead, and see how things evolve and go, because you can have such a wonderful business plan or future plan, and in the end, in 2 years time, the whole world can look differently, and your whole plan can be not be working. So I'll just go with the flow. That's the best thing to say for now. And in the end, we will see how it will end up. Well, these were the questions for now. And as said, these were the questions for Veluwsch Verfgoed. I also had a lot of questions about the designing part for the guy with the hook, which I will answer in the next video. For now, I want to thank you that you watched this the video once again, and I wish you a very pleasant day, week, month, year, whenever you watch this, and I hope to see you back in a different video. So, bye.